So me and my friend were in a good old game of Team Defendle Fort the Second, and I asked him what he thought of Pyro, because Pyro's my main, and this is what he had to say.
No, because I don't want to play Pyro. It's the class that people will yell at you for using on both teams. But like all that effort, you can just be a different class and also M1, but then people will respect you for it.
Nope, none of that. Cut the sad music out of here. We don't need it. Pyro is good, and I'm going to tell you why. Before we can address what makes Pyro a good class, we have to first address why people hate Pyro in the first place. As you can see by this footage, Pyro can be stupid. You don't actually really need to think depending on your loadout. You can just kind of flail around, and this is how people see the stereotype of Pyro. You can just equip a BS secondary and get damage out, and you just don't really need to think. So we are going to be countering why this stereotype is not true. I think the big issue with Pyro as a class is his skill floor is very low. You can get away with not really paying attention, having immense amounts of lag, having no real strategy, and still get a good couple kills every death. This leads to a similar situation as Sticky Spam demo, where yes, it's very easy and quite effective, so why would you bother putting in time to learn more complex skills when you're already doing fine? I think this is where the big divide in Pyro players comes in, because a skillful Pyro who has devoted more time into maining the class will not use as many of these annoying and easy strategies. You rarely see a Pyro that's put the time in to learn Air Blast using a flog. And why use something like the thermal thruster when you have your detonator jumps worked to perfection? Newer players don't know all this yet. They have seen WM1 and they've seen that it's working, so why would they bother with anything like Combo Pyro when they have WM1 and all their weapons seem to work pretty well like that? They could use the flamethrower. Why on earth would they use a shotgun? No need to. You got a flamethrower at close range. Why would you use a flare gun? You could just finish off with the flamethrower. If they're on fire, you're in close range anyway. Why detonator jump when it's just not important? You could use the thermal thruster and get the same or better results. So I think this is where the big divide comes in. Pyro as a class has so many distinct playstyles, and I think this is where a lot of the confusion for new players comes in. Because you could play him as an ambush class and flank behind with the detonator or the thruster and get backburner crits. You could be a support character with your engineers or medics helping to extinguish teammates or remove sappers. You could spy check and help your team avoid that annoying spy that keeps killing everyone and stopping those important pushes. Or you could M1. You could press W and M1 and not have to think about any of that. I think this confusion on what your class is supposed to be doing is where most newer players go wrong, because Pyro is, in essence, a build your own class kind of scenario. You could play him from so many different playstyles. You could build him for AoE, you could build him for single target, you could build him as a support. But new players aren't told this. They're told run in and use your flamethrower. And that leads to the stereotype of stupid Pyro. With this video, I think I can help some newer players learn those different playstyles, so hopefully as time goes on we'll see less and less of the WM1 Pyro and more people who see Pyro as, ooh, I could do this playstyle and have a lot of fun, or I could do this playstyle and have a lot of fun. Not just M1 into a crowd and then die. The main playstyle I want to talk about, however, is where I think Pyro thrives as a class, and that is as an ambush class. Now, wait, I hear you in the comments. Pyro, not a good ambush class, too slow to be an ambush class, doesn't have the mobility to flank. And you're right. You are right. But let's fix that. Well, antimony, how do we fix that, you might be asking? And I can tell you one easy way to fix it. One unlockable weapon fixes all of Pyro, and that is the detonator. Now, if you're anything like me, when you first got the detonator, it looked something like this. Yeah, when you first get the detonator, it seems underwhelming. Your blast jump goes nearly nowhere, it takes a lot more effort than the thermal thruster, and it just doesn't really seem worth it at the time. But then, once you put in a little bit of time, and workshop some jumps, just look at something and think, maybe I could get there, you realize how many useful jumps there are. For example, you could go from here to here to all the way over there, or even here to here. Isn't that last one epic? The detonator solves all the problems we had with ambush pyro, because you can now take any flank route that a scout could, and even a few more. It solves the mobility issue of catching up to your enemies, because pyro, already a slightly middle of the range mobility class, can now detonator jump to catch up, similar to how a trolldier might jump to catch up to their target. Just learning these simple detonator jumps and a few other techniques opens up a new world and a new gameplay loop for Pyro, where you previously just M1 into a crowd and win. Now, you can see a ledge, think maybe I could get to that, workshop angles to get to that, see where that ledge can take you, and come out of somewhere no one would expect a Pyro to be. And that is fun. Pyro's damage is middle of the road at best. But when you don't expect a Pyro to be there, that's when Pyro's at his best. Because his damage, it comes out easy, comes out fast, and you don't really have any chance to react to it because you're already in melee range with the Pyro. So ambush Pyro is also one of Pyro's most effective playstyles, whereas a scout or a spy has to do a little bit more work to secure the kill. Pyro just has to do a bit more work to get into position. This is why I think ambush Pyro is a good introductory class to Pyro, because Pyro as an ambush class is fun, there's a lot of dynamic elements you need to know, it teaches you game sense, positioning, where different classes will be at different times, who to target first if there's a group, how to get behind different flank routes, the basics of blast jumping. All of this, and all you lose is your secondary slot. This is why I love Pyro, and this is what I think would have helped me out the most when I was starting out Pyro, because I definitely was guilty of lag spam, WM1, just go into a crowd, hope it works. My friend was a medic main, so it worked most of the time, and I'll admit it, I was not at all good at the game. But now, after investing hours and hours into the game, I think ambush Pyro is how Pyro should be. And if I help out some new players to not make the same mistakes I did, all the better for it. Thank you all for watching. Have a great day.